Hello, my friends, and welcome to MSP Unplugged. I'm your host, Rick Smith. This is the place to learn tips, tricks, and strategies to help you run and grow your IT service business. Whether you're a one-person shop or leading a team for the journey, this is the place for you. Let me introduce to you my partner in crime, the one and only. Really don't need any introduction, but Mr. Paco Lebron. How are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing today?
Okay, Fonzie. How we doing, my man?
My friend, another day, another dollar. Tired as all heck, but as the commercial says, it's time to make the donuts. And if you're too young to hear that, you Google how to make the donuts, and you'll thank me later.
But I just want to make a correction. Paco said another day, another dollar. In his case, it's another day, another $10, another $200, something like that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But we wanted to welcome everyone to the show today as we continue our fourth quarter living journey. Today's topic, we're going to talk about changes, how you make them, how you approach them, if you should make them, you know, just basically when you're going through that process of evaluating what to do, how do you make the changes that are necessary to help grow your business? Now, before we get into today's topic, we just want to talk about a couple of things. As in our segment, we like to say, what's happening in our space. So, Paco,
Yes.
tell us what's happening.
Well, as Mr. Rick Smith has mentioned, is going to be a new segment we're going to be introducing is what's happening now. And so what's happening now is there's a couple of movers and shakers that are happening around in the industry. One of them that happened, I think now about 2 weeks ago, is our good friend Juan Fernandez is now the channel chief over at SuperOps AI. So I want to congratulate him on that. I know he is super excited to head on in that role and do some great things over at SuperOps.ai. And we'll be hoping to hear more from Juan later on in the podcast and talk about what his plans are for that. Another one of our good friends, in my opinion, doesn't need no introduction. He is known as the most interesting man in the channel, and that is Larry Mador, is now over as the channel chief of Infamous Security. So, and for those that were at TechCon, Larry did an amazing presentation on referring to how to improve yourself on security and cyber insurance. He's now taking his talents over to Infamous Security and also to help with the security awareness part of it, which he knows all too well. So we congratulate Larry on his move over there as well, and we will make sure to have him on and get his his great things as we hear the claps in the back for those two gentlemen, and see what they're up to nowadays as we move forward, which we talked about is fourth quarter living and changes. But one additional thing, we try to mention any conferences or events that are coming up. I and hopefully Rick will be over at the Channel Futures Leadership Summit. That will be October 30th to November 2nd. I will be speaking on a meranding of those days. But if all my MSP Unplugged peeps or any that are going to come down, definitely let me know. And it'll be at the Fountain Blue. I believe there's still rooms over there, but there are neighboring hotels around. It should be a great time. So head over to channelfutures.com to their events for the Channel Futures Leadership Summit. And I look forward to seeing you all there. Now, Rick,
Yes,
I know we
sir.
talked about fourth quarter living and talking about changes, but I wanted it would be nuts to me to not say intro the Tupac intro. No, we don't have that music in play for changes. Okay, never mind. So,
No. We got to work on that one.
yeah, look, we got to work on that. We're still getting used to all the fine tuner.
Yeah, we got some new toys we're trying.
Shout out to Uncle Marv. But he'll know what we're talking about. But anyway, going back to a serious note, fourth quarter living changes. Obviously, this is our segment that we talk about every year. We usually drive into how you really should be evaluating and how to make the most out of the fourth quarter so that you can end up with that W at the end of the year. And so if you missed our last episode was talking about how to assess, reassess, and what do you got going on in your particular business, take inventory of your life, your business, and how do you make all that in between. Today, as Rick mentioned, we're going to talk about changes. Go ahead, Rick. Drive it on from there.
Yeah, the question is, right, we talk about fourth quarter living. Two things I just want to emphasize this, as Paco said, but I'm just going to repeat this, right? There are two things that should be happening now. You should be trying to figure out ways to finish the year strong. And secondly, ways to start the year strong and on the right footing, right? So our conversation last episode was really about um making those evaluations, making a plan to make those evaluations, and deciding on what works, what didn't work, what you should be doing going forward. Now changes is, now how do you implement those changes that you're making? And a better question is, why are you implementing those changes? Now hopefully, as you've gone through the process of evaluating where you are, you have some metrics that you know of, that you can measure, and however you do that is up to you, right? If something was effective for you, if your process could be improved, how do you improve it? Now, if there are tools out there that you use to support your business, were those tools effective in helping you? Now, here's the question: is, we always get caught with two things, right? That shiny object syndrome. Hey, I got this, but this has it's glaring so much brighter, so maybe I should go here. The question that I say you ask yourself first is, am I using this to its capability before I start looking at this to, move to, right? So am I really utilizing all the features that my current product has for me? Now, that's a yes or a no. If it's a yes and it's still not meeting your needs, it's time to move on, right? If there's something else that you've evaluated that does meet your needs. But there's a flip side of that. Maybe it is meeting your needs, but there's some things you want. Make sure that you know that what you're currently using doesn't have it before think about moving. So those are some of the, we move a lot. It's the same reason a lot of our customers sign contracts with us and do, sign agreements with us and do business with us, right? A lot of them move on emotion. They move on feeling. They get a good feeling about us. They think this could be a prosperous relationship, and they move on, and they become our client or our business partner, however we want to look at it. We have to evaluate our vendors and how we, and even our process. I'm going to put that in there as well, because that's extremely important to, what we're doing is our processes. So we have to evaluate both of those and decide what makes sense for us. So I think I've given a brief, quick synopsis of that, Paco. I'll let you go from here and talk about, maybe some personal or some processes you can give as to how to make those evaluations.
No, for sure. I mean, it was it quick. I mean, it was definitely a short story long, but the point is, no, I kid.
Hey, that's the way I work.
No, I got it. I think so. There's a couple things to really for those listeners to understand, right? Is really understanding the word change, right? And whether it's for yourself, or it is you or your clients trying to implement change, like Rick said, someone switching over from an MSP to another MSP, or switching from one IT service provider to another IT service provider. The real big issue that people have with change is they associate that with discomfort, and they really don't allow for just being able to understand that change is often associated with concerns of just like a survival mode. There's a reptilian part of our brain that just goes into survival mode when it's like, do I want to do this? Is this something that I should do? I don't know if I should take care of this. Um, should I make this change because things are good over on this side? You know, is it worth it for me to do this? Am I going to regret it? So there's all these questions that people tend to try to get over, and a lot of people just don't like changes. It's hard for them to go through change. And so really them trying to focus and figure out and decide what they really want to do is, how do they move forward? How do they get to a point where they can go over and make that change? So there are a lot of different motivating factors, as Rick just mentioned on some of those. One I want to go into in a little bit more detail is this shiny object syndrome. I think we all get to a point where, everyone is, they're on a particular solution. It's running great for them. As Rick said, they probably aren't using all of everything in that solution. And then they hear this nice big thing in the marketing spiel, and hey, we need to jump right on it. I can remember this was a big thing when next gen antiviruses were coming out, and everyone was flying to go to a next gen AV, a next gen firewall. And it turned out, as we found out later on, that next gen was just a marketing ploy to say, hey, we're new to the space. So now here's the next generation of how people should be handling this. And I remember one AV company I was talking to, and they said, yeah, we've been next gen for probably the last 20 years. If you compare what they're saying is next gen to us, and we have a much bigger sample size than them, all we have to do is just change our marketing and we're next gen too. And it was true when you compared the two situations. Like, yeah, we've had EDR before it was called EDR. We've had blah, 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 and all this type of stuff, but we never marketed that way. They just happened to be more clever in marketing. So, again, the shiny object syndrome of really jumping off and trying to find something that makes sense for you may not really be all that. Because now, what a lot of people don't understand, well, I'll go into this piece in a second because I want to dive into the second thing is it's okay to be frugal. But it ain't okay to be cheap. And a lot of you are cheap. And I'm going to tell you why. Because for all of you switching over for a saving of a matter of cents or a dollar, you're investing your hourly rate on implementing and fussing around with support and trying to get it to work how you want. You're not taking on the burden rate for a lot of that, which may cost you more than the money you're even saving. And it drives me off the wall when I see people saying, oh, yeah, I'm saving, 25 cents by switching over to this vendor. Well, how many hours did it take you to flip everything over? Like, how long did it take you to go through all that? So if it's what drives me, like, again, I'm all about being frugal. Be conscious of what you're spending, be conscious of what you're doing. But then there are those that are just cheap that, again, won't buy a Microsoft 365 license for email, and and they switch to domain provider that doesn't provide free emails, and then they're upset. Those are the guys I'm talking about. So, and I know it's very specific, but that was a scenario I remember a long time ago. So, it's just one of those where it just drives me up the wall where people who confuse the two and investments and figuring out from there. Now, in the turn, don't go above your means. So that's why I say frugal, because you shouldn't be starting off and going ahead and getting a pen tester and pen testing all your clients right away and getting I don't know, I'm coming up with all these things for like things that you don't need that right away, because when you're first starting out, you know, when you need it, then get it until you start really diving into the security posture. And when you're at that step, then go ahead and do it. By no means do you get something and hope that the clients will come, because that is a wrong way of thinking about how to do stuff. You should always get into services, the tools, the investments for what you currently have now, not for something you potentially think you're going to have later because it may not come through. And then now you've extended yourself moreover than not. I'm going to give you an example. There was a vendor that we had signed up for and gave us I think it was like a 60 to 90-day trial or something like that. And after the first month, I canceled. And they said, well, why are you canceling? This doesn't make sense. You still have 2 more months. I said, look, this is what's going to happen, because I know myself. I'm going to go these next 2 months. I haven't implemented it. I'm going to keep paying for, I'm going to forget. I'm going to pay a couple more months thinking that I'm going to try and do that. And that was resources that I could have dedicated somewhere else. It's not going to work. When I'm ready, I will come back to you. And, the hemming and hawing of, no, it's so easy to implement this, or no, you can, take care of this, or, hey, over time, it's going to skip me with the, what. I just always found that if you don't go above your means, and especially, and by means, I mean not only your money, but also your time, and also most importantly, the effort that's going to take from you and your team trying to put that in place. But Rick, anything to dive into those, the frugal in mind to try and implement and invest on what they need to do?
Okay, I'm going to change the word. No, I'm not going to change the word, but I'm going to just say,
Cheap.
be no, don't be cheap. I say be purposeful.
There you go. I
Be
like that better.
purposeful, right? Know what you're buying and why you're buying it, right? Know what you're spending on your money on and why you're buying it. So back to Paco's comment. If you are, we all at different levels. We all offer different
Right.
things. Some of us offer certain things that others don't, right? I would say this. You create however you create it. I don't want to tell you use a good, better, best, or one, plan A, plan B. However you do it is how you do it, right? But I would say this. If you are in the beginning stages or intermediate stage, whatever stage, a level of maturity your MSP is in, you start with the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Know what that base plan is. So everything that you are offering to a client at this point on my base plan, everything you purchase from a vendor right now is part of your base plan, right? So no matter what, that's what you're going to use. Then you may want to think about the things that are in your next level of an offering. You don't necessarily have to have those now. You can take the time if you want, investigate them, know what they may be when you're ready to go that route. But don't, I guess, take them just for the sake of taking them because it's the end of the third quarter and or it's the end of October and we have an October special. So if you get it before Halloween, you can get 60 days free. But you know that you're not going to implement this to March, April, May. You're going to pay for January, February. You know that you're going to pay for this if you implement it. Now, Paco made a great point and he touched the nerve because I had a product that I was paying for a year and a half that I did not use.
And why didn't you use it, Mr. Smith?
I never took the time to implement. I didn't have time, didn't really need it. And here's the thing. If you pay for something and you have it in your arsenal and you don't use it, you don't need it. You know what I'm saying? You don't need it. No matter how you can justify what it would have done for you, you did not use it. So you do not need it. I guarantee.
Especially if you have something already like it.
Right.
And because it looked nice and shiny.
Right.
And it made sense. It looked nice. But the question becomes, is your client really going to use it? Oh, well, I'll teach my client. With what time?
Yeah.
What labor effort are you going to take on that? New clients make sense, right? And then you got to go through it. But is there a plan to implement this thing? And is there a plan to make this profitable for you as well? Now, exactly like you said, Rick, and you have to be purposeful on what you do. Now, whatever label you want to decide for that I've mentioned, Rick has mentioned, the one theme will always be the same. You run your business the way you want to run your business.
Right.
There is no way, there's no one way to do this. There is not, you have to do this in order to be successful. You have to do this to be successful. Everyone finds their own stride to get to the point of where they want to get. I truly believe that. Now, as you had mentioned, we do get wrapped up on things like, well, this is the super and improved and duper thing that I need. When I have it and what I have does the functions that it's supposed to do, why not take advantage of it? Perfect example. I was paying, I forgot who the website provider was back in the day, but I was paying something like, and I was part-time with the IT business. I was paying like 125 or 200 and some odd dollars a month for a website or something like that. And I was thinking to myself, why am I paying this much for a website for them to update my listings and do all this other crap? And I was like, why am I bothering? So I ended up switching over to Tech Site Builder for 19 bucks a month. And guess what? I had more traffic on that website than I did on the ones that were being paid. Mm-hmm. So, and again, it went back to, why do you need it? Why do I need to have this in order to take care of what needs to be taken care of? Because it does the same thing. A website, it takes inputs and takes intake of collateral and information. Same thing as what I was paying for on this. It looked nicer, probably had probably more flutes and features, but did I really need it at the size of my business at that time? Same thing when it comes to our clients and the solutions that are being offered to us. for our size clients, do we need whatever's being advertised for us? Now, as Rick says, there's different stages and for different businesses, and some solutions make more sense, some other. But these are some of the things you have to consider when you're trying to make changes. Is not only is it the shiny object syndrome, not only is it the pricing situation, but you can't be emotional about your changes as
Right.
well. So you want to dive into that one a little bit?
No,
Because I
yeah,
have a
I
lot
think
to talk
that
about on that one.
yeah, I think that's an absolutely um great thing to say is about being emotional about your decisions, right? We like, and I will say this. I'm going to qualify this comment with this. I do like to do business with people I know, like, and trust.
Mhm.
Right? That matters to me a lot. And the way the way I look at that is, we go to conferences, we go to, we talk to our sales reps on the phone, whatever. You develop a rapport. Same way you develop a rapport with your own clients. Some of those people you do know, they
Yeah.
prove to be trustworthy, right? So, and you like them, so you do business with them.
Mhm.
I look at things this way. Are you there when I need help? That is the biggest, most important thing. That when the one thing we have to do for our clients is be there when they need us, right? Service
Mhm.
them when they don't see it, but also definitely service them when they do see it or when they're asking for it. Our vendors are no different than that. They need to be there. And when I qualify who I'm going to do business with, two companies may offer the same or a similar product. One may be cheaper than the other. I may go with the more expensive guy only because he has proven to me that he or she, excuse me, has proven to me that when I need them, they're going to be there for me. Or
Yeah.
that might work the other way. So that plays, I guess, a little bit in the emotion and the know, like, and trusting. But what I will say is, on the emotion side, is don't fall in love with the concept. Don't fall in love with
The idea.
the idea. Exactly. Now, you run a business. I'm going to say this way, right? If you're running a business, and I've talked to several people who have started recently or in the process of, growing their business, and I tell them this: set a vision for where you want to be. Right? You realize you're not there today, but that's where you're working towards. Right? So everything you do, you have to do with that vision in mind. Now, of course, as you learn, and I can attest to this, as you learn, as you grow in the business and learn, you realize some things you have to alter, right? You have to change some things because now your reality changes, right? As you gain more understanding, more knowledge of what you're doing, your reality changes a little bit. So you have to make that change. But still, if you had that vision, and that's what is, and that goal and that concept is what's most important, you will avoid emotional those emotional decisions that hurt you. And a lot of times I think the emotion we get is just, we get that awe, like, wow, that's
Mhm.
cool. That's cool. You can do this in 4 clicks. Look at that pretty picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow, it gives me graphs.
Right.
So that's just what I tell everybody. Just watch out for that and check yourself, because the truth is your business represents you. That's true. But I will say this: your finances are not emotional. They are plus and minus, red or black, right?
Yeah.
And that's all that in the end is a profit or a loss. So your numbers are not emotional. And you're in this business, and I we have a lot of reasons, a lot of motivations for what we do. But the bottom line is you don't start a business to be broke. You don't start a business to be mediocre or just get by. So your profit and loss matters a lot. So, in the end, the accountant's not emotional. He's telling you, hey, you bought all these shiny objects and you made no money from them. So now you lost money, right? That's not
Yeah.
emotional. It's a fact. So I just say, keep that in mind as you make decisions.
No, I mean, I think you've hit it really well is how to avoid that emotional damage, right? And really being able to understand not to be emotional in your business. I heard this term for the first time in there was a show called The Prophet. It was on CNBC, guys from Chicago, Marcus Lemonis, and one of the things and so the concept of the show is he goes in, he sees what he can fix, and he believes that every business has three problems: people, process, or product. And he's like, all right, you don't have a people problem, you don't have a product problem, you have a process problem, or you have a product problem, or you have a people problem. And so what happens is people have been so accustomed, especially if they ran their business for so long, on certain ways, that it's hard for us, again, change, which is emotional, to try and break away and make whatever needs to happen for the business happen, right? And so that happens in multiple ways, right? Rick talked about the positive about it, where, hey, we go into events, we know people, they become friends, they're at these businesses, we want to do business with them, right? And so that was something that happened to me. I think close to 8, 9 years ago, we were using a product in combination with another one for our PSA. And I literally moved to this other product just because I preferred doing business with those people at the time and had been with them for probably now well over 8, 9 years. And because I wanted to do business with them. The problem you run into that is sometimes people don't stay. And so what you have to understand is, are you doing business with the person and the idea that they are offering, meaning the product? And if they weren't there anymore, would you continue to keep using the product, the service, etc., if they were to leave? Or did you only give them a shot because of that person being there? And so what I've learned, and I've been bitten by this by a couple times, is that when the people have left, the product isn't what it really was when I bought into it, because I bought into the person representing the product, not the product itself. So I've become a little bit more wearier nowadays and making changes that, you know, could be detrimental to the business if I don't realize it right away. The other piece of it is, if you're leading a team and the system or the software or the tool or et cetera was good for you for so many years, but your entire team hates it, but you are saying, no, it's great, deal with it. Now your business is suffering because they hate it. They don't want to go into it. It's a cumbersome thing to do. It's your responsibility as a leader to listen to your team and company, because they are what allows the company to grow. I've been a huge believer that you take your employees first, and then everything will go through from there. Take care of your employees, who will take care of your clients, and your clients will take care of your business. I've always been a big believer of that. I think Richard Branson was the one that I saw that flow or that comment and quote that he has said. And so that is something to take in consideration, especially when trying to be emotional because you've done things for a certain way. You have to understand business is business. Business is ones and zeros. Either it can help you or it can't help you. Can it do what you need it to do, or can you not do what it do? Can you deal with it as much as possible? It's kind of like the Bloodhound story. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Bloodhound with the attack on anything.
No.
You never heard that
Nope.
story? It's an old wives' story. Basically, person walked by, there sees an old man with his bloodhound on a porch. He's dying of thirst. He comes up to, he's like, "Hey, I see you have a pitcher of lemonade." He's like, "Yeah, here, come on, join with me and let's have a conversation." Guy sits on the on the porch. They're talking, and then they hear the bloodhound going. Say, "Hey, man, is your dog all right?" He's making a weird noise. "Oh, he's just sitting on a thumbtack." The heck? What do you mean he's sitting on a thumbtack? "Yeah, he's just sitting on a thumbtack." Like, ain't gonna help him? Like, he sounds like he's hurt. He's like, "Nope," because here's the story. If it hurt him bad enough, he's gonna get up and walk away. And that's the lesson that everyone needs to learn. Sometimes you're dealing with pain, but it's not painful enough for you to get up and make the change.
Right.
So, but
Very
it's
true.
still pain nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think with that, I think we can round out this episode from there to really talk about, don't be emotional about your change. Business is business. Make sure that you're not getting lured in through other things on the shiny object syndrome. Be purposeful with what you make as your decision on where your resources go. And most importantly, understand, like I just said, pain is pain. How well are you going to deal with it? And is it causing you more pain during the long run when you could just get up and do what you got to do? That's what I got to say for you, Mr. Smith. What do you got to say for that?
Sounds good. Sounds good. I think I couldn't have said it better myself. So, to the shock and belief of everybody, I'm going to leave it there. But again, we want to thank you all for tuning in. Again, we are working on this fourth quarter series. Just as we talk about it, these are things we're going through at the moment. So this whole change conversation that we just had is really the child of some conversations Paco and I have been having this week and last week about some things, some moves we're making, or should we make them? And we've really been pushing each other to task about why are we doing it and does it help? And that's the whole purpose of this. So, we're going through this as we talk about it. So hopefully this helps someone. And we again would appreciate it. If you have any comments, concerns, if you think we're wrong about it or going about it the wrong way, or you do it a different, please let us know. Drop us a comment, drop us an email. Just let us know. We'd love to share your ideas or share your comments online and take those into account. So with that, I think we'll say goodbye. We do invite everyone to tune in every Tuesday and Thursday. You can watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged or our Facebook page, facebook.com/MSP Unplugged. Do us a favor. It does help. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. You'll be notified whenever a new episode is available. If you just like to take us on the go, you can catch us there. We're on your favorite podcatcher apps, Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. For Paco and I, we want to thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on MSP Unplugged.